Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your introduction. And I am really glad this morning, and it is a moment to be remembered that to talk to so distinguished and outstanding people who are keen to hear about what is new in science and in America and not in Sudan. And well, I will not go very much in the details how I reach the conclusion that the heart is a cognitive organ rather than a stupid pumping machine, as they used to call it. It is a long journey, more than 40 years before my pre-medical education, that I think about the heart. From where that? Because I read Quran since I am young at school, and always I halt and stop at when the word the heart is there in any ayah. And so much that I was very enthusiastic before I entered the School of Medicine. I asked one of our very eminent scholar, Professor Abdullah Tayyib. He is linguistically the most famous one in Arabic, and asking about this interpretation or the meaning of al-qalb, the heart in Quran is not as we study in medicine or biology or whatever. Well, he was rightly answered me that the heart could have other functions rather than distributing blood to the whole body. And that gesture made me very persistent to think about the heart. Then I entered the medical school, and I had been graduated, and I started to see how that came in. And then honestly, I don't enter the field of research directly as the heart or the brain. The heart and the brain, they are of equal importance to me, and I will tell you why. But because I am thinking of what is consciousness. What is consciousness, and how the mechanism that we are thinking, or how it thought ever emerged from human brain. And because that was frame my research in consciousness, so I think at that time I have to find some other place where I can join and present my ideas. I asked one of our eminent neuro physician about what is consciousness, how do we think. He told me, no, I don't know, you go and look the library. So it was, consciousness is a real riddle for how I entered this field. Then I choose people in Arizona through the internet. There were other chances. I could go to Sweden, I could go to Canada, and I choose America, maybe by chance, but it was fate, you know. And I found these people of Arizona, they are studying what is known as towards scientific study of consciousness. Then I applied to come and attend one of their conferences, and I found that, well, the consciousness is the hottest branch of science ever exist to the moment. And they are biannually, each 2 years, they gather in town Tucson, Arizona Tucson, and it is a multidisciplinary conference, usually attended by about 65 countries in every discipline that can encounter science and human sciences. Started from medicine, psychology, parapsychology, religion, physics, chemistry, all disciplines of life is included in that forum. And each 2 years we discuss how can we reach the phenomena of consciousness. What is consciousness? It was really a challenge for everybody to the moment. To this moment, it still is a challenge, you know. And then I started to present these people, to present papers, to present lectures in concurrent sessions and in so forth, and not only confined to Arizona, but like international conferences. I talk like this talk about 20 international conferences literally in every part of the world. I went to Asia, I went to Africa, I went to Europe, I went here to America. So it is a wide cover, and I just tell them the idea that how I reach or maybe a solution for the mystery of consciousness. My postulation was that because I found a gesture in Quran, وتقرأ هذه الآية, it is in Surah Al-A'raf 179. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد ذرأنا لجهنم كثير من الجن والإنس لهم قلوب لا يفقهون بها ولهم أعين لا يبصرون بها ولهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل أولئك هم الغافلون. So while I stop and hold about the meaning of the word ifqah, and ifqah in Arabic means to understand, to perceive. So it was very, very exciting to me to find that in Quran, one of the functions of the heart is perception. And this is what I'm looking after, the heart perceives. Well, I link that with, because in medicine, the cerebral cortex is the side of perception and thinking. Frontal lobe, all is concentrated on the brain, and all the people here in America and in the West and everywhere, they concentrate to solve the problem of consciousness through the cortical level, through the brain, and that is it. So what is new on us or new to this forum is that introduction of the heart. And from that ayah and other ayahs also in Surah Al-Hajj, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها. So in that, the first ayah, the heart perceives. In this second ayah, the heart is thinker, thinking, يعقل. Okay? So from these 2 points, I understand that my research should be a very genuine and in concrete level because it in the Quran. And by the way, any science that is coming in the future should have the source from the Quran. And I have been told by a very eminent professor in Sudan, Professor Amna Mohamed Hassan, who is one of the world authority in pathology and the other in also laboratory work. Both of them, they admit, and one before them in 1975, that Quran should be the key for research. And it would give me booster and more encouragement to go through this research line. And from here, we are going to propagate and to tell that every source of knowledge in science, whether be space, be human studies, be physics, BA, anything is included in our holy book, the Quran. And they admit that any source of knowledge outside this book will be fallacious. They just, this is what, and they asked me to convey this. So we come to the heart, and then on one of my presentations, I'm trying to study intention. Well, intention is the work of the heart. And our Prophet, peace unto him, when he asks about intention, he points to the heart, a niyyah. Okay? Intention is a niyyah, and he points to the heart. So the heart is a niyyah. If we think and we break it down, if you have a niyyah, that means you are going to think. You have intention. You have a thought. You have something that is make you do whatever you want. It's a niyyah. Okay? And from here, I find that one of the basic work of the heart is to process thoughts, to mere ideas. And this is what's lacking in the brain, and the people could not establish that the brain could think or mere ideas. So intention in the heart and not in the brain. So the heart processes thoughts. The heart not only processes thought through intention, but also receives information from inside the body, from outside the body. And so long we know about intuition, you can just have some ideas just in your heart like that. It is intuition. And now there are extensive studies all over the world now in the parapsychology about intuition and how you have just an idea occur to you. And the heart also receive information, differentiate this information, integrate this information, and compute this information in a meaningful message or command. To where? To the brain. So there is heart-brain interaction. When I think of consciousness and conscious act, it is emerged from the heart and signal to the brain. The moment the brain receives the stimulus, it becomes conscious because the brain is unconscious. The brain is literally unconscious. When it receives this signal from the heart, it becomes conscious and forwards this message to the effective organ, whether it is a hand to write, where is the tongue to talk, where is the feet to walk, and so forth. So it is a very simple, straightforward set theory about how is the conscious act is produced, how we are voluntarily will do jobs. It is first made from the heart and conducted to the brain to complete the task. So it is a task. This job of conscious action, emergence of consciousness, processing of thoughts, the free will. The free will is for a long time is an issue here. And many people and many scholars, they deny free will. They think that people are deterministic by nature and finished. They have no option. They have no choice. But this is not. The heart is a side of choice, free will. And also this is, we have in our Quran, and that whatever you do, you are free to do. But at the end, what your heart or what your deeds is accountability of what your heart done is that you are going to have either reward or punishment. So the free will is basically, and freedom is basically the work of Islam, and work and emerge from Islam, the free will, that anybody is free to do what he likes, okay? And then to formulate the last expression, in that the heart receive information, the heart in first intention create the thought processes, receive information, integration, differentiation, computation. So at the moment you can see this is a process. It is a process and not something just like that. When I say the heart is يعقل في القرآن يعقلون بها. So it is a process. The heart make this. And many people here in America, they fail to find the origin of free will, conscious act, and the idea from where it starts, because it depends on the cortex, the cerebral cortex, and the brain. And one of these, he called Benjamin Libet, he is a very eminent neurophysiologist. He spent 41 years, about 40 years, to find from where the thought arises from the brain, and from where the conscious act. Conscious act, there is difference between conscious act and unconscious act. An unconscious act, we don't differ, that is purely due to the brain. And they have two centers, one in the cerebellum, okay? Like somebody who's going and swings his hand to and fro. This is an unconscious act, and it is from the cerebellum. Many other unconscious actions also at the base of the brain. But what I am interested in and what I am explaining is the conscious act. If I want to take this book, this is a conscious act. How is this complete? Is completed through the heart-brain interaction, and it is a task. So that man, he called Benjamin Libet, he did an excellent work in neurophysiology to reach to conclusion of from where the idea stems, or from where a conscious act arises, and also intention. But intention, he said that free will is illusions. He reached a very nice conclusion. Let me at this time, can I introduce the
تعالي على كل سعدية شوف stop.
Okay. Well, okay. This is just a council, and that we made this non-profit organization to support the issue of consciousness and neuroscience that is coming. And this is a heart, of course. Well, I just give you very brief account about the embryology of the heart. And the heart, round about the 4th week, from 3 to 4th week intrauterine gestation, the heart is complete and start to pump. Whereas the brain start after the 4th week. So the development of the heart and the function of the heart precedes that of the brain. This is very important, very crucial. And this has been vertical to the moment that now the work of the heart precedes the work of the brain in any EEG. This is established fact. Well, global changes had occurred in understanding the role and functions of mammalian heart. And this is, of course, by the first papers I had published in 2009, if you have got that paper. I'm the first one to state that the heart is a sense organ. The heart is not only a simple mechanical pump or just a machine for blood distribution. The heart is a basic fundamental cognitive organ that processes thought, makes decision, and interacts with the brain to produce conscious experience. Believe me, up to this moment, all over the world now, they are after what is a conscious experience, what is consciousness. It is not. But my hypothesis is well accepted. The cognitive abilities of the human heart depends mainly upon the anatomical structure, the intrinsic function of the cardiac ganglia, the intramural cardiac neurons. We come to anatomical structure. First, what I mean by the heart, and for Muslims, especially the scholars, the heart is the heart which is in our chest at the plane of 45 inclined to the left, the anatomical heart. Because in some of religious people, they have different interpretation to the heart. They think that the heart is the brain and the heart is here in the skull. And what is inside is the brain. I don't accept it, but however you find it, القلب المقصود والقلب الأكشوال يعني this heart, what we understand is they have a different interpretation to it. But what I'm speaking of the anatomical heart, which is in the chest. And the intrinsic function of cardiac ganglia. Well, the next questions will come. One will ask me, how do you know that the heart is a cognitive organ, how the heart processes thoughts, and how the... Well, because there is a revolution now in neurocardiology, and one of the two eminent neurocardiologists called John Andrew Armour, he's a Canadian, and another one called Ardale. They did a lot of work in the ganglion of the heart, on the neurons of the heart. Okay? So much that they think, John Armour, he thinks that there is a little brain inside the heart. Okay? So this, to me, I'm not surprised, because in the first paper I said that the heart and the brain, they arise from the same ectodermic origin at the time of embryonic life. If they are of ectodermic origin and they have these neurons, one migrates to form the brain and the cerebral cortex and everything, and the other part of the heart, the neuron parts of the heart migrate down to form the neuron and the machinery of the heart, or the neurons, that is SA node, AV node, bundle branch block, Purkinje fiber, the whole neurons that makes the electricity and make the heart is from the third and fourth at the time of embryonic life. However, that is the only time when they share this property of perception and neurons. Later on, the heart has no ever connection with the brain. The heart is neurogenic, it's autonomous, it works by itself. These intrinsic ganglia on function make the heart to contract and relax. And there are two components of the heart, the muscular part and the neural part. Okay? The muscular part is all what the people on the whole world is concentrated on. And that is the mechanical pump. It is systolic, diastolic, push the blood, and that is it. This is the mechanical part. The mechanical part is also very interesting because it's unique to the heart. It's made of striated muscle, okay? And this striated muscle is not under the control of the brain. It's not under the control of nervous system. Every striated muscle, like muscles here, the deltoid, the biceps, all the muscles in our body is under the control of the brain. But the muscle of the heart is autonomous. It's not under the control of the brain. It's a unique. This is a unique for the heart. And the intramural cardiac neurons also is very beautiful. People working on heart math, they found that about 40,000 sensory neuritis, 400,000 sensory neuritis in the heart. That is in the ventricles, okay, and all the heart. And these are sensory neuritis. They communicate with each other. They change information. They do all these things, and the sensory part of the work of the heart. So I say that the heart is a sense organ because of these functioning neurons. This was very important hypothesis that AlFaki in 200,000 postulates that the neurons in the mammalian myocardium have perceptive sensory function locally in the heart, like sensory cortical neurons of the brain. And this, I published this in Medical Hypothesis. And the argument is straightforward because both of them at embryonic life, they arise for those who know anatomy or neuroanatomy from ectoderm. Both of them ectodermic. The heart or the neurons on the body and the neurons on the heart, the neurons with the skin also, all ectodermic organ. And the efferent cardiac information is known to connect and modulate activity in the thalamus, hypothalamus, reticular formation, the amygdala, and other centers in the limbic system. Okay, and this is very important, a limbic system for emotions, okay, and the heart is of course emotional. And the afferent cardiac information affect cortical processing, perception, behavior, and emotion. The signal that is sent from the heart, it determines the behavior of the individual. Whatever you want to do, first we said intention. If you want to walk, if you want to dance, if you want to pray, it's all intention. Then this is translated by the heart and signal, and accordingly the limbs and the body acts. The novel idea about the heart, intrinsic ganglia, and the neurons justifies and supports the cognitive function of mammalian heart rather than a simple mechanical pump. Not only simple, they call it sometimes a stupid pumping machine. No, it is very intelligent, very nice organ. And for those who are Muslims, we know that the Quran is delivered in his heart, peace to him. And Quran is delivered in the heart and not in the brain. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نزل به الروح الأمين على قلبك لتكون من المنذرين بلسان عربي مبين. So the heart is the side on the seat and the where Quran is delivered, and not the brain. The brain is only, there is one mentioned in the Quran about the frontal cortex, and that is a deception, a site for deception. And we found that in Arizona, we found that some guy who is present and he reads that the prefrontal cortex is the site of deception. And there, God, Allah said, "Nasiyatun kadibatun khatiya." This is a nasiya. So, there is no contradiction between science and religion. What Allah said, "Nasiyatun kadibatun khatiya." Now we reach in that forum that this is the site of deception. This nasiya is a site of deception. And now they know the people through the study of consciousness, they will know that if somebody is a liar, they merely look at them. This topic or science of consciousness is something expanding beyond your imagination. And now our people are thinking of interconnected information between one and the heart and the other. Direct, not through cell phones, but I don't know how is that going. So this is a cardiac ganglia, and these ganglia are very informative, and our job in the coming future to support this idea, to support the cognitive work of the heart, is that every single ganglion we have to test and know what it's doing. This is a research, a very extensive research, and time may be consuming or anything, but we have to. Okay? This is the cardiac ganglia, the cross sections. Another hypothesis postulated by AlFaki, that is in 200,000, the cardiac neurons firing precedes cortical neurons firing by variable time equivalent to readiness potential or lipids latency period in goal-directed action or behavior. And this is marvelous about this theory of the heart, that it is responsible for goal-directed action or behavior. The efferent cardiac information that is sent to the brain motor area, so brain motor area, in prefrontal cortex and frontal cortex triggers conscious stimulation. This is very important. So consciousness is triggered by the conscious stimuli from the heart. The feedback from a specific organ to perform a conscious, intentional, selected motor action according to free will. Okay? This is easy. Whatever you want to do, first you think of, and what comes to you, this, that, this, and then you determine at the end. It's a free will. It's not illusions, as Benjamin Levitt said. It's a free will. The feedback from a specific organ to perform a conscious, intentional, selected motor action according to free will. This already contradicts that Benjamin Levitt assumed in his famous experiments and paradigm about volitional action and free will, in which he had postulated that an unconscious brain process precedes the conscious act or behavior in the brain and determine the veto for free will. This is a man who is California and spent all this time, okay, to know what trigger a conscious act. This here. This hypothesis clinches disputes philosophy and believes that the heart is not a cognitive organ but a simple mechanical pump to distribute blood to the body, including the brain. The neurodynamic signals and synergistic feedback interaction between the heart, the brain, and the body during conscious state produce conscious experience, conscious action, conscious behavior, and consciousness. Cardiac consciousness elicits and initiates in cardiac ganglia as an unconscious process, and the stimulus is signaled to specific sensory motor area in prefrontal cortex, which trigger a conscious brain stimulation. At this point, the people who said that consciousness is started in the brain, his argument is that there is certain neurons in the brain which work and potentiate the action of the action potential to care. That this, if there is a signal, of course they just concentrate in the brain. They say there is a signal from the brain to the brain center to make, for example, a conscious act, to raise this book. He said from the brain to the brain, the idea is there, and then go to the brain, make it conscious, and the action potential is there, and the task is completed. But he has many critics. If you read this in the second paper, he has many critics. They told him that there is no central processing for these neurons to fire, and there is no facilitator neurons to prepare for action potential. So his paradigm was rejected. And when I hypothesize that the heart first make this stimulus comes from the heart, the conscious stimulus, then I could explain the time which Benjamin Libet could not explain, and that is the time which precedes before an action potential. That is about 0.5 millisecond. In every action potential, when he considers the brain, he found that there is 0.5 millisecond. He doesn't know from where this come. All his postulates were refuted. Then when I take the advantage of working of the heart, to me, this 5 millisecond is the time taken by the heart to do the process of intention, okay, processing the thoughts, integration, differentiation, computation, and signal, because the heart needs energy and time to do this. So the times is variable from 5 milliseconds to whatever the behavior needs or the action needs. Okay, not all actions are equal, have this 0.5 milliseconds, maybe more, maybe less. Okay, but originally this is the time consumed by the heart, an unconscious process in the heart that prepare for these signals to go. Man has been accepted that. The time consumed in this unconscious cardiac process represent an equivalence to readiness potential in EEG tracing, in goal-directed action or behavior in conscious state. Many education talk, we come to the importance of this. Inshallah, it will come and become fruitful. What is the use? Why we are establishing the intelligence of the heart? and the cognitive ability of the heart. Because many educational institute and health is here in America, especially in heart math, organization had started to use the cognitive abilities of the heart as emotion, intelligence, intuition, reasoning, etc., in treating patients with post-traumatic stress and psychosis. This is in psychosocial intervention will be very beneficial. Another thing in education, they found that the people who use their intelligence, their heart, they're more concentrated, they are more conscious. These students, they understand more and they score higher marks. If they use intelligence, there is certain maneuver that make one more concentrated and more vigilant, okay? So the use of that is going to be an enormous. And only that, the people in economics, they already started also to use the intelligence of the heart. People are now speaking about emotional IQ rather than intelligent quotient. And also there is a social IQ, you know. So there is a movement shift of the heart and the use of heart intelligence. And very important here in psychosocial stresses with this now crazy world with many wars and disasters and so forth. They need the intelligence of the heart. You have to make formula in order to alleviate their stresses and the cognitive function of the heart and the interaction with the brain and the body. Through complex neural network and signals, explain and fills in the gap in understanding consciousness. And now, this is the most, believe me, this is the most eligible theory to explain consciousness. It has been accepted and they give me a recognition that they cannot dismiss this hypothesis. They have to work it. The only thing that I need many help and the explanatory gap اللي هي mind body dichotomy. يعني you have to find this. The heart problem is the question how physical process in the brain give rise to subjective. Well, this is one of our colleagues who works is David Chalmers, but the heart problem and soft problem it does not work in that for those who study psychology. It's not his theory was not accepted. The cardiac visceral consciousness versus cortical visceral consciousness. Invalidate Benjamin Leavitt's findings. His suggestion on the genesis of volitional conscious act, free will, and intention is no longer valid, and the brain is not the source of the origin of these. The source of origin of these free will, action, and intention are all is the heart. And here I still expand on, well, the use of the heart. Of course, we all know that the heart is the site of emotion. No two can disagree on that. So by using and try to cultivate and reconsider our education based on the intelligence of the heart, people are going, we need to shift. Well, I think this is a crazy world. We need to shift to more love, compassion, and acceptance of the others. That is on the teaching of our heart, rather than hatred, extinction, and violence. If we use the intelligence of our heart, we are directed to that road, inshallah. Thank you.
بارك الله فيك. بارك الله فيك، جزاك الله خير.